Gab, what's your inkling at the end of this transfer window? Will Coutinho be wearing a Liverpool kit or a Barca kit?
Sebi, I'm going to go back to what I've said before. I don't think this move makes sense, given that you're going to have to pay a premium. It doesn't make sense for Barcelona, who won't be able to use him in the Champions League, and needs to pay extra for a guy who maybe they could get for a little bit less in the summer, because you always pay a premium in January. And it certainly, I don't think, makes sense for Liverpool right now, because without Coutinho, they'll have a harder time, obviously, making the top four, and that lost revenue in the Champions League, would offset whatever extra they gain by selling him now. Now, that said, Liverpool were very, very confident that they were expecting a bid, apparently, from Barcelona. Now, that bid hasn't come yet. My sense is that this is being driven by Coutinho's people, who, of course, drove it before in August as well. You know what? If I had to guess right now, just simply because it doesn't make sense to me, I would say no. But, watch this space. There's a long time to go yet in January.
Ale, do you agree with Gab that this doesn't really make a lot of sense right now?
Well, when you hear Gab's explanation, all of what Gab's saying, okay, that makes sense, all right? But I just think that there are feelings here. Mm-hmm. And when you put feelings into it, I just think that Philippe Coutinho wants out. He wanted out in the summer. That didn't happen. And there was disappointment there. And then kind of took his time to get back into the team. Now he's back in the team. And now when he's getting back into some sort of rhythm, we're hearing once again that he's going to Barcelona. When you have feelings and the player is involved and he wants to leave, if there is a team like Barcelona, who, by the way, paying the premium now or paying in the summer, I don't know how much of a difference that really makes, then you may just think that, you know what, why not do the business if you're Liverpool? And oh, by the way, you've also just paid a big chunk of money for Virgil van Dijk. Maybe you want to make the difference up. Maybe you want to somehow pay for that by selling Coutinho. I don't know that that's the case. I'm merely speculating here. But all I know is that if feelings are involved and then player wants out, then usually the player ends up leaving.
Here's a look at the Premier League standings. Alejandro, you get a sense of just how important 3 points would have been to Spurs as they try and get into that top four. Are they in some real serious trouble now? Top four chances?
I don't think real serious trouble just yet, because there's a long way to go. However, what you see from Spurs is signs of a team that can be very inconsistent. That they can win games, but then they can also find ways to give away points. And that's a part of Spurs that can be frustrating. And that's a part that you don't quite understand, because you feel that this team was actually turning the corner. That it felt that they were generating some momentum, and then you run into this and you think, wait a minute, we're back to square one. We don't know what the real version of Spurs is, and really we haven't seen that consistently enough throughout the course of the season.
So take a look, too, at the bottom half of the table. Obviously, West Ham in a relegation dogfight. These are a big, big point that they got. If they'd have won today, Shaka, they could have jumped from 16th all the way to 11th. As we see, they're pretty comfortable at 15th. Are you changing your tune on David Moyes? You weren't very happy when he was first hired.
I'm changing my tune in that West Ham, Sydney, he seemed to steady the ship somewhat. And West Ham are picking up points in places and at times that I don't think they were before David Moyes. Is he the long-term solution for West Ham? Still, absolutely not. No. But I feel West Ham...
Is there a compliment coming? Because it doesn't feel like it.
There's a compliment coming. There's a compliment coming. I'm just trying to figure out how to fit it in. David Moyes has done an exceptional job since he's been there in getting West Ham to at least play with confidence. Because I think that was the one big factor lacking. Credit to him for doing that.
One loss in their last 7 Premier League matches. And you just barely gave him a compliment.
That's
Well, they are unwatchable. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Napoli and Juventus neck and neck atop Serie A as we head towards the second half of the season. Big match on Friday between Inter Milan and Fiorentina. SPI tells us Milan away from home, 35% chance to win. Right around a month ago at this time, Inter Milan, Gab Marcotti, were in first place. Now they're 7 points adrift. This kind of feels like a must-win if we're going to have a real 3-horse race in Italy for the rest of the season.
Yeah, unless Roma get their act together and they become sort of the third force of the title hunt. Look, I think this is regression to the mean a little bit for Inter. Earlier in the season, they weren't playing great, but they were getting the results. I thought in several of these last, 3 in a row that they've dropped, they've actually played reasonably well, and in some occasions were a bit unfortunate. And in that sense, it's balancing out. They're not where Luciano Spalletti wants them to be. They're going to hope to get some help in January. Obviously, Mkhitaryan's been mentioned. But they need an additional creative attacking force to complement Mauro Icardi. I don't think there's any question about that.
They don't call it silly season for nothing. Here's Antonio Conte to Sky Sports Italia after Wednesday's 2-2 draw between Chelsea and Arsenal. Quote, "I do not aim high with my requests, especially as in my history I've rarely been given the players I asked for. I always ended up at clubs who were running an austerity program." This, of course, in response to a question about the current transfer window. Gab, please help me make some sense of this. An austerity program at Chelsea? What's Conte aiming at here?
All right. Well, so first of all, I saw this. I saw this footage in its original version, and he was kind of half joking when he came out and he said that, and it's in keeping with the theme. He spent 3 seasons at Juventus where he won the league every year, but they were running on a relative shoestring budget. Certainly, they spent a lot more money after he left, and he routinely complained about it, and that's one of the reasons he left. And then it kind of became a bit of a running joke. So that said, he's the kind of manager who is sort of in a permanent state of war and always wants more. And I think he would have wanted to see more spending in the summer. There were certain players, Alexandro being the obvious one, that he would have wanted. Certainly they were pushing for Lukaku instead of Morata early on, and then they lost out to Manchester United. I don't know if he'd swap them back now, but this is what he does. He's somebody who always wants more because he's above all his own harshest critic.
So here's a look at the austerity program at Chelsea.
There you go.
First year, well over £100 million, including the reigning Premier League Player of the Year, N'Golo Kante. Of course, brought David Luiz back from PSG. That wasn't cheap. Second year, almost £200 million as they addressed the back line. And, of course, the $70 million there that you see on Alvaro Morata. Is this just Conte being Conte, Ale, or is this maybe sign of bigger issues at Chelsea?
Well, what's hard to figure out, and let's not forget, this team won the title last season. So you would have thought that the feelings in Chelsea would be a whole lot more positive than they are. But as Gab just alluded to, if you have a manager that is always at war with others and with himself, then it does create this negativity and this friction that I don't think it's necessary. I don't think that if you're a player in the club, you need all this other attention going on. Focus on what you do on the field, focus on your training sessions, focus on the performances, and then the team that you have in hand is good enough to compete. Then go ahead and try to win with that team. When you're thinking about who could be here and who should be here, who isn't here, then you start losing sight of what's important. And what's important is the guys that are inside that locker room.
Go ahead, Gab.
To be fair to Conte, there's a couple things. You mentioned the spending. Chelsea also sold players during that period. And if you look at Chelsea's net spend, it's not going to be as high as Manchester United's and Manchester City's. And certainly in the first summer, of course, David Luiz and Marcos Alonso only came in the last 48 hours of the transfer window because they weren't able to sign the guys that they really wanted to sign, people like Koulibaly and whatever else. So I think Conte views it like that. And Conte is still very much wed to the idea of the old style owner benefactor who falls in love with a team and is happily cutting checks, a little bit like what Abramovich was like when he first arrived back in 2003, 2004 when he spent the moon. Abramovich isn't like that anymore. Chelsea aren't like that anymore. They are running a business. They've got financial fair play regulations to meet as well. They took a big hit, and people often forget this, the year before Conte came when they finished, 10th under Mourinho, didn't get the Champions League revenue the next year, had to pay off Mourinho. So all these factors together help explain why the spending hasn't been what Conte wants it to be.
It sounds to me like he's saying, hey, I need help. How much help do Chelsea actually need in this window, Shaka?
In this window, let's remember, Chelsea, up until very recently, was sitting second in the table. Now, every single manager wants to spend more money. At the same time, as much as you hear it from managers at the top end of the table, given the amounts they've spent, and we've offered them no kind of respite from that, haven't offered them that as an excuse, I'm not going to start with Antonio Conte now at all. Ali mentioned it. Chelsea were defending champions last season. We started this summer with Antonio Conte getting into a bit of a fight with Diego Costa and then speculation about his own future. I think that had as much to do with players' uncertainty as to whether they'd move into Stamford Bridge. You're not quite sure who the manager's going to be. You're not quite sure how you're going to be treated if you fall out of favour. You can't just keep throwing money, bad money, to fix bad problems.
Thanks for sticking with us here in the ESPN FC studios. It is time for Extra Time.
Oh, okay, great.
Hashtag FC Extra Time if you want to get us your questions. Might be a little bit late for this one.
Double extra time, by the way.
But just generally. Ale.
Yes.
This is your first day back from vacation,
yes,
right?
Yes, sir.
What'd you do? Where'd you go?
I stayed home. Staycation. And let me tell you, Christmas was great. Fantastic.
Yeah?
New Year's, different.
What happened?
Well, we were supposed to have a party New Year's.
And you're just such a host. You love to be.
Right. See, you may be surprised. I'm not a people's person.
Really?
But my wife thinks that I am. And so we were supposed to have people over. Only one problem.
Yeah?
She got sick. But the food was already ordered.
Did you play the host?
No,
that's not happy host.
No,
that's what I'm saying. That's what you should be doing.
No.
You should welcome everybody into your house.
No, see, I don't like contact with people. So now all the phone calls that I didn't want to do to let people know that they were invited to a party.
People you didn't want in your house.
Correct. Now I had to make those phone calls to let them know that they couldn't come because Melissa was sick. And never mind the food, as I said, I had already been ordered. And so it was like pulled pork and turkey and meatballs and all these other things and so on and so forth. So let me tell you what we have been eating for the last week or so.
You got some extra? Because you got a couple guys snowed in the hotel here.
I'm starving.
There's a lot of pulled pork and turkey.
I love pulled pork.
Turkey with pulled pork.
I love turkey.
With a side of meatballs.
I love meatballs.
Do you think any of that pulled pork has inspired your sons to shovel the snow yet?
No. Apparently that's impossible for him. I don't know what age it's okay to tell your kids to go shovel the snow, but it's not 13 yet.
No, too young.
No,
too young. We got to
13 is
protect
too
the
young.
kids. We got to protect the kids.
Boy.
All right, let's get to the best from Twitter.
Had a great break, though, I'll tell you.
Yeah, lots of Xbox, right? So, at Have No Filter says, great show today, especially from Semi Salazar. Who did this? Whose burner account is this?
He's got fans.
Did my mom get
I was
Twitter?
wondering what you were doing on your phone a minute ago.
He's got fans.
Typing away, everybody.
Beautiful.
Oh, goodness me.
Oh, beautiful. Hey, say, your brother?
I don't have a brother.
Your sister.
I have a sister. It's my mom.
It's him. That's him.
Wait,
No, because if it was my mom, it would be something critical like your shirt is crooked or your nose is crooked.
So it's you telling yourself.
Yes.
Show.
No.
Sebastian,
wait a second. You always talk
sending
about
a message
confidence.
to the upstairs.
You know, maybe I need to boost my own. Sometimes confidence has to come from within.
well within
Twitter.
in that case.
Okay.
Well within.
That's a confession if I ever heard one.
Yeah. I'm very, very insecure on the internet. You should know. Here's Bart wants to know, even better, which 25 minutes did you enjoy more? Arsenal against Chelsea or Tottenham against West Ham? Well, I wish I could take you guys inside our green room while we were watching the West Ham Spurs game, and you could hear how these two described the match on multiple occasions.
Which we cannot.
No.
Offer.
Even on the internet, we can't.
No, we cannot offer in this medium, but it was not good.
Was Arsenal-Chelsea a match of the season so far for you?
Yeah.
Like, pretty clearly?
Yeah, for me, yeah.
Man, I liked Arsenal, Manchester United as well.
Okay.
There were stretches of time in that game where it was incredibly back and forth. And had Arsenal scored some of their opportunities, perhaps might have been a different outcome.
Let's hit Gab on this. Arsenal-Chelsea match of the year.
Guys. Arsenal-Chelsea? Seriously? With that absurd Arsenal defending with Callum Chambers wandering off to go have a chat with Jack Wilshere in midfield when he should be defending?
The question was, which did you enjoy more, not which was of higher quality. Come on.
I don't enjoy defensive mistakes.
Oh, my God. Here we go.
I'm sorry, I'm Italian. Defending is important to me.
Okay.
It's not that difficult. Don't go and wander off to go talk to a teammate while the ball's in play. How hard is that?
Hey, don't worry about it.
Hey,
you know where
we'll see a lot of Italian defending at the World Cup. Oh, wait, no, they're not in the World Cup.
Well, that's right. That was just...
Okay, we got 4 of those at home.
Not 2018, you don't.
Living in the past. All right, here from a Liverpool fan. He said, whose goal was better? Obviously talking about today's.
Nobody's got a team in the World Cup.
I mean, I know you.
I have half of Mexico. Half of Mexico.
Tried to claim.
Who do you claim? Honestly, who do you claim?
Who's asking? What's the benefit? It totally depends.
Whoever's in.
Yeah.
But between Venezuela, Trinidad and Tobago, and
Italy,
and the U.S. and Italy,
yeah, Gab's a good
we could have our own tournament. I wonder if anybody's thought of that
Seb, not quite sure. Seb, not quite sure.
Yeah, a man of a million teams. What can I say? Very worldly. Let's get back to the final question here. Whose goal was better from Thursday's match? Heung-min Son of Spurs or West Ham's Pedro Obiang?
Well, you know what I'm going to say.
I know what you're going to say. Okay. I'm going to agree with you, too.
Obiang. It's a tighter angle. Yeah.
I mean, that ball was picking up speed as it hit the net.
There is no question that as he's about to take that shot, Lloris is like, yeah, okay, hit it. If
I'm Obiang, I never kick another shot
Walk
again.
Off.
I'll never shoot again for the rest of my career. Like, remember that last shot I kicked? That's what I'm going to say every day.
Gab, we have agreed on something here on the desk, so surely you can disagree. Which goal was better, Obiang or Son?
I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm going to agree. Obiang's was better. And by the way, he's done this before. He scored not quite as good, but not dissimilar a goal for Sampdoria when he was playing there. I think it was 2 seasons back, where he just absolutely leathered the ball and put it in a very tight space.
Hey, where was the Italian defending there?
Exactly, but nobody defends in Italy, Gab. Everybody knows that. There's never any defending.
It was against a bunch of Venezuelans playing for Cagliari. Amorebieta, I think. Amorebieta and his brothers.
Yeah. When we started the show, Gab was all happy. He just come back from skiing. He was still giving it some of that.
Is that Gab ski?
Because that's how Gab skis. And now like, oh, man.
He's back. He's back.
Crashed into the clubhouse. Skis broken. Mitts are off.
It only took us a few minutes to go totally off the tracks here on Extra Time. Hashtag FC Extra Time.
Hey, there's a lot of pulled pork and turkey in my house.
Always back tomorrow, Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That's our get out of here alarm. We'll see you on ESPN News.
Could Real Madrid be better off without Karim Benzema? It doesn't sound nice to say it, Shaka Hislop, but that is the reality we're looking at now. He's constantly being booed by his fans. He's low on confidence, so he's not scoring. And because he's not scoring, he's public enemy #1. And now he's injured for 3 weeks. So could this force Zidane to start considering other options?
Well, I think Real Madrid and Zinedine Zidane would have been considering options for Benzema for quite some time. And in all honesty, it's not the first time that Benzema has found himself on the wrong side of the fans in this regard. He's always managed to work his way back in.
But the confidence now is low.
The confidence is low, and it doesn't look good. And yes, I think Real Madrid are without question considering options. The question is, what options are there for Real Madrid right now? He's injured. I'm not sure that Real Madrid have a player on their books to fill that void. In the past, it was Cristiano Ronaldo who played more centrally, but he's not been in the greatest of form himself either. So I'm not sure that he's the answer to Benzema, certainly not in the short term. You look at possible targets for Real Madrid. Harry Kane is one that constantly linked with a move to the Bernabeu. But I don't feel that's going to happen, certainly not this January transfer window. If we start talking about possible, if not likely, targets for Real Madrid in this likely window, I can't look much further past Mauro Icardi at Inter Milan, who of course would also be able to feature in the Champions League for them. Insigne is another possibility, but he would be Champions League Cup tied. Other than that, I really start to feel that Real Madrid won't be getting anybody before the summer. Any of the other likely targets that would be at the top of their shopping list, I don't see them leaving their respective clubs before the summer.
What do you think Benzema should be thinking now? Do you think he should be considering his options, even though it's clear he's obviously happy at Real Madrid and has been for some time, but he's assisted in 3 league goals all season, just 3, and it's not like you're scoring any, so I don't want to say what's your point, but
I think he needs a move. I think it'll be good for him, a fresh challenge. fresh environment.
Can he still offer a lot to
I think he can, without question. I think he can. And he needs somewhere that will embrace him, that a manager that will, again, give him that confidence. And I think there'll be no lack of suitors with big European clubs. Not a Real, might not happen in Spain, but I think if Benzema does decide that his time has come, or Real Madrid decides his time has come, there'll be a queue of clubs wanting his signature.
All right, thanks so much, Shaka Hissa. Well, it's probably not what Karim Benzema wanted to hear, but it looks like if this keeps up his time at Real Madrid, could indeed be coming to an end. I've got Shaka Hislop here with me, getting ready to tackle some rumors in transfer rates. And now, these are just in general, not necessarily this January transfer window. One that we've been hearing about a lot, Shaka. Danny Rose to Manchester United. Makes sense, right?
It certainly does. I think this makes a whole lot of sense. Rose critical of Pochettino earlier this season, back in the team, features. I think it also fills a huge void that Manchester United have and need to address.
Well, Arsenal probably need to start looking for some reinforcements, and Aubameyang did make it known that he was interested in a move away from Dortmund. So would this move to Arsenal be a hit or a miss?
Well, speculation about Aubameyang was that he signed a new contract a couple of months ago, then he came out and said no, it's still sitting on the table. Aubameyang to Arsenal makes a lot of sense as a replacement for Alexis Sanchez. I think he wants out. I also think he brings the pace that Arsenal would lose with Alexis Sanchez. It also would go some way to appeasing the fans after losing such a big name like Alexis Sanchez. Still not quite the Alexis Sanchez on that level, but I think it comes very close.
Now, this one may make a couple of people roll their eyes, but it's not that far-fetched, especially since Cristiano Ronaldo has been showing signs of slowing down. So would a move away from Real Madrid, wherever it is, be good for both him and the club?
I think no. And just because I believe that Ronaldo's legacy will forever be linked to the Bernabeu. And I understand everything that he did at Old Trafford. I understand how close he still feels to the club, and say Alex Ferguson in particular. But while Jose Mourinho is still in charge, I don't see Ronaldo making that leap again to work under Jose Mourinho. And I'm just be a little bit stubborn. Never mind what everything that everybody says, including Ronaldo. I just feel he's going to stay at the Bernabeu, despite his relationship with Florentino Perez, for the long term.
All right, staying in Spain, or actually speaking of Manchester City, not many would argue that they need a lot of reinforcements, but they do have injuries that they have to contend with. Umtiti, would that be a hit or a miss?
I don't see this happening at all. A couple of reasons. When Barcelona was struggling last season, Umtiti came out and said something rather ridiculous about we prefer the way we play now than when Guardiola played, and just had the... I thought that was just kind of silly and self-serving, in all honesty. I also think that Umtiti's is far too important for Barcelona for them to even contemplate letting him go. I'm going to put that down as a miss.
And finally to this one, which is of some importance to you, Shaka, because it has to do with West Ham. Theo Walcott at Arsenal, he's been linked with a move going back to where it all began for him at Southampton. But would West Ham be a good fit for him?
Not for me, no.
Killed that then.
I mean, we've been waiting for, what, 10 years for Theo Walcott to deliver on his promise. I just don't see that happening. I also don't feel that it's a good fit. Certainly not West Ham right now. So unless there's a major overhaul in the summer, which I don't anticipate, I don't see how he fits West Ham in this team. I'm putting that down as a miss.
Not to West Ham right now. You'd probably not take Theo Walcott right now. Maybe 5, 6 years ago, possibly. But if I were West Ham, I'd take all I could get. No, I went there, Shaka. Sorry. Thanks so much to Shaka himself. We'll continue tracking all of these rumors to see if they happen or not here at ESPNFC.com.